Yeah, it's a big inclusion for the Newcastle Knights with Kalen Ponga making his return. Unfortunately, it wasn't going to help the Newcastle Knights. They went down to the Cowboys 18 points to 6 up in Townsville. How critical and crucial do you think this victory was for the Cowboys? Even though it was a narrow victory, how critical was it for their season?
Well, listening to the players after the game, I think it was D-Day. They all but said it was now or never. Spoke about urgency and playing the Cowboys' way, how much this club means to you, and they put it all out on the line. And they're still not playing their best football. They're far from it, but they got the job done, and you could see the relief in their expression. Even right on the full-time siren when Cohen Hess dived on that loose ball, you could see the relief in their celebration.
What do you think the difference is? Because the Cowboys last year, very different to the Cowboys that we are seeing at the moment. What do you?
Well, they've had some injuries. There's talk of the World Cup getting back late to pre-season training. It's hard to put a finger on things. There'd be a few
big year. Like, they had a really big year. Sometimes that's what happens. You have a huge year like that, and you don't train as hard, and you think it's going to come easy, and it doesn't. And like they spoke about, they've got to go back and do all that small stuff. They've got to be much better at all the basics of the game. And I've got to say, the game was ordinary. Like, some of the errors on both sides.
Forward passes.
Dropping the ball off kickoffs, like just, drops in the ruck. Although, Newcastle, although they scored 2 tries in the time Tuolangi was in the sin bin, although once they got behind on the scoreboard, their attack was, very non-threatening.
Well, what did they talk about all pre-season last year? All year last year when they were getting wrapped, they all spoke about their defence and how much tackling they did in the pre-season. Well, they missed 47 tackles last night. There's a difference in itself.
What about for the Newcastle Knights, Joey? What did you make of them overall?
Up and down. There were some really good points and there was some silly errors. As we're just seeing, that was on the back of a HIA, that was on the back of 2 minutes, and they tried to shift off a 2-minute play the ball. But once again, they were thereabouts, but the silly errors, they've got to cut the silly errors out of their game. But Impatches played really well, you can see, just passes not going to hand, just some simple one-on-one drops. But courageous, from where they were last year, they've improved a lot. Kalen would have liked to have seen players around Kalen, bring him into play more. And when a team gets someone sin bin, they've got to play more. Coming out of trouble, doesn't matter if you're on your own 20 or you're on the halfway line or you're on the attack. You've got to move the ball. If a team's one man down, you've got to take advantage of it and move the ball. There's times when Newcastle were just going 5 in for a kick. I was like, give the ball to Kalen. Go to the right side with Tuolangi's defending. You'll get him.
The one smart thing the Cowboys did, they gave it a drink water. And he always looks dangerous. Come up with most of their opportunities, miss that one towards the end of the game. But he was dangerous the entire game. And he never dies wondering. He's always...
That was ridiculous.
Always attacking the line.
That was as silly as it gets.
Well, that's where he got sin bin. But you've got to think of the Cowboys. They're only 2 points now out of the 8. So they're on 6. There's 4 teams that are on 8. The bottom 4, you got, I think it's the Storm, Dolphins, Titans and Roosters are all on 8. They all get to play, so we're only 2 points out of the 8.
You think about that sin binning, the hip drop, the hitting players late after. Now more than ever, you've got to keep your head. You've got to think about your football. You think about the Roosters and their ill discipline. If you're ill disciplined, you won't beat anyone in this competition. Keep your head.
Well, like that one with Murray Tuolangi. It's very similar to the Victor one in Melbourne. Yeah. It's just stupid. Stupid.
Yeah. And the match review committee has come out this morning with their findings. He hasn't received a suspension.
Well, he doesn't
deserve a monetary
fine. You know what he deserves? He deserves to be sin bin and a big kick in the backside from the coach. Like a size 12, bang, straight up there.
What did you make of the Newcastle's decision to have Kalen on the bench for the majority of the first half?
Yeah, I was surprised by it, but they're showing a duty of care there, taking him out of the early action. I think you'll see the best of Kalen next week. I think they've got the Eels at home, so look out. And you're expecting him on for the full 80? Just watching it. Every time he's near a tackle, near a collision, he got some big collisions. You sort of hold your breath.
And one interesting thing as well, the Cowboys, they didn't use 2 of their players. There were two
find that
players on the
extraordinary.
bench that they didn't use for the entire game. Is that I mean, that's putting a lot more workload on the bigger boys.
It shows a little lack of trust because not using two players is pretty rare. Not using one player, maybe you've got a versatile player but a back that doesn't come on. But not using two, that means you've only got two middles out of, just interchanging with the other players. Sort of screams about your depth, your trust in your depth, I suppose.
The Cronulla Sharks produced a gritty 33-20 win over the injury-hit Bulldogs. Cronulla recording their 5th win of the season and leaving them in 4th place on the ladder. How did you rate this performance, Freddie, by Cronulla?
It was okay. William Kennedy was fantastic.
Didn't he good player?
Yeah, I think the good thing about the Dogs though at the moment is they're not going away. Cronulla jumped out by 2 tries, Cronulla fought back. The other way around. Cronulla scored another try, the Dogs scored another try. And then when they jumped out to 2 tries ahead, they didn't go away. They come back and they scored another try towards the death. So, you know what? Good signs for the Dogs, who are still down a few troops and building their new roster, but Cronulla were just too good.
Yeah, it was a pass mark for Cronulla. They were sort of in 3rd gear most of the night, I thought. Thought they got to the lead, they were sort of playing with the Bulldogs a bit, but I've got to say the Bulldogs showing great spirit and fight considering the players they got out. I've got to give a big rap to the bunker on the 3rd try.
The Cole Flanagan.
When Cole Flanagan, actually, he was the one that made contact. I think in the past they would have taken it off him, but they showed great discretion.
Well, there's been a few this year that they've awarded in that exact moment. So I think the Sharks are a serious team. I think they've got plenty of points in them, obviously off the back of Nico Hines. Will Kennedy's playing some great footy. I think Britton Nickora on the right-hand side, he's a great ball runner and got a pretty smart footy brain about him as well. It's their defence. That's what they need to fix up. They averaged 20 points and that's what they leaked against the Bulldogs, who I think we all consider are probably not going to play finals this year. So if they can get that defensive side of the game right, and Craig Fitzgibbon takes me as a defensive coach, they'll be there when the whips are cracking at the end of the year.
What about Ronaldo Mulitalo? Because he usually puts down the most incredible tries.
You see this so often, either with the dead ball line or the sideline where wingers or outside backs nearly put their landing hand on. This one here, it made... Can Craig Fitzgibbon get even more bolder? Maybe not.
He loses his eyebrows.
You know what Ronaldo said after the game? He said that he apologised to the forwards. He said the boys are going to give it to him on Monday, but he said Lachlan Ilias is giving him nightmares about his put-downs because earlier on in the year where Lachlan Ilias saved that incredible try.
That should be free game.
He's learning his lessons now. It's better than learning them in semi-finals. I think when we all think they're going to be there in semi-finals, he's a quality player. When you speak to anyone at the club, they say he's a quality bloke. He does plenty off the field, on the field, at train. He's a real big part of their club, and he's learned some real valuable lessons. I think I think the coach has had some words to him. Just tuck your ego away and do what's best for the team.
I look at instances like that as lessons as well. Some people might see it, that's in his game. He's susceptible to putting his hand on he won't do that again. He will never do that again, Ronaldo. Do you ever
remember botching a try?
Probably. I can't remember. I don't even remember the good stuff, Jenny.
Well, I never wore an earring again after they ripped it out, so... and taught me my lesson about earrings.
Do you remember botching one?
Watching what?
A try.
I didn't score enough.
Surely you did.
Probably.
Yeah. Yes, it was a great few days up in the top end in Darwin. Great to see JT. We know he's the king, especially around Queensland. But I have to say, up in the Northern Territory, it was something else. Walking down the streets, people were running, chasing him, and it was it was really special to see a lot of the young kids out there. Rugby league certainly growing in terms of popularity up there, and the Clontarf Foundation, they brought a lot of their kids out, and it was great to see, but a fun few days as well.
I remember going up there years ago, myself, Danny Baderis and Mark Hughes, doing some stuff up there. The amount of talent, the natural talent, in particular with some of the Indigenous kids, it was amazing. If we can get a real foothold in there, There's so much talent, natural talent up there. It's
Well, it was
frightening.
sold out. So they love their league up there in the Northern Territory. And obviously love JT. Bit of Pamela Anderson. About the swimmers that you were wearing.
Billy.
Baywatch. Hey,
Billy.
the red outfit.
Come on, mate. You're better than that, Bill.
That was scary. And you know what? I was in there for 40 minutes. The longer that I was in there for, I'm thinking that they're going to, JT was going to do something worse. And the Croc actually got himself caught between
Got him here.
the cage. Yeah, we got JT.
Oh.
Well, we actually put it on him afterwards, and he had it around the neck, and we're asking, oh, is it, venomous? And she goes, no, it constricts. Anyway, and then it started wrapping itself around his neck, and he's going, it's getting tighter, it's getting tighter.
It looked like a lot of fun up there.
Yeah, it was. Also, a lot of fun for the Brisbane Broncos as well, securing that win over the Parramatta Eels, 26 points to 16, the final result. They're a really strong first half performance from Brisbane, and I'm pleased to say that their coach, Kevy Walters, joins us live now from Queensland. Kevy, great to have you on the show. How did you enjoy your few days up in Darwin?
Oh, look, it's it was a good few days. We flew up on the Wednesday and we trained sort of Thursday morning. So, yeah, it was a good few days. I'd be interested, though, to hear what sort of stuff JT got up to in Darwin a few years back.
Anything, Danica?
Hey, what happens in Darwin stays in Darwin.
What about on the field, Kevy? Had a great start to the game, in total control, and didn't score a try in the second half. How'd you weigh the whole game up?
Yeah, look, exactly that, Freddie. Look, we were really good in the first half. Only had the one or two handling errors. In the second half, we knew that Parramatta were going to come back into the game through possession and field position. So I thought we hung on well in the end to get a good victory. Still lots to work on for us, but I'm particularly pleased with our defence to keep Parramatta to just 18 points, and two of those tries came from kicks, and the other one was when we had one man in the bin. So really good defensive effort. We know we can attack and score tries. The big focus for us this year has been stopping them, and I was rather pleased with the way we did that on Friday night.
Hey, Kev, a 7-1 start to the season, obviously sitting pretty up the top. This young, impressionable Broncos team, have you got to consciously, put a lid on things and make sure they keep their feet on the ground?
Not really, Freddie. We learned a lot last year. Bill. We learned a lot last year from our season as a whole, from how we started, the middle period of our season, and then the back end, which everyone keeps referring to. That was a big learning curve for all of us, and coaches included. So I feel we've learned a lot from that, and they're very determined, bunch of young fellas. They want to learn, they want to get better. And that's every player within the squad. So, yeah, it's a joy to be coaching them at the moment. And where these guys have been the last couple of years, and myself as well, it's just, winning, it just creates so many good vibes and good things. And whilst we're doing that, we want to maintain to keep doing that.
You spoke about the joy of coaching these guys. On screen now we're showing Reece Walsh. What's it like coaching him? What's the messages you give him?
Well, it's like coaching a young Billy Slater, I've got to say, which I coached an older model of the Billy Slater, but he's just everything. He's got lots of energy, he comes to training every day and wants to get better, wants to learn from all of our coaches, not only what's happening on the field, but off the field as well. And he's made some big commitments this year, Reece, so far, and the results are coming for himself personally and also us, here at the Broncos. I'm particularly happy with his defence and his mindset towards his defence. And with his attack, he's just so fast across the ground, and he's just hard to keep out of the game. We saw a couple of brilliant moments from him again against the Eels, where he just shows up out of nowhere and creates scoring opportunities, which is what it's all about for Reece. But defensively, he's been really good for us, and that's where the big focus is.
Kevy, coming up next week, you have the Rabbitohs and you have Payne Haas facing a one-game suspension, Ezra Mam facing a one-game suspension as well. How big of a challenge do you see the South Sydney team as?
Yeah, well, obviously a huge challenge. We've actually pleaded guilty to both those charges, so they've both been ruled out of next week's game, which is fine. We've got a really strong squad this year, and I've been pushing that with the players as well. And, it's hard to replace a guy like Payne Haas, but everyone else needs to regroup and get together and make sure that where everyone's carrying the load that Payne carries. It's a very heavy load, I've got to say, because he's been our standout player, him and Reece, you know, in the opening 7 or 8 rounds. So, but it's good for us to, you know, give other guys an opportunity and see where they're at their footy. Keenan Palacia will obviously come back into the side, and he unfortunately missed out last week. So Keenan, I'm sure, will be very keen to get in there and have a crack. And Jock Madden is the other guy that will come in for Ezra. And Jock's been sitting patiently. He's a good player as well, very good player, and belongs in the NRL.
Hey, Kev, just on the reason why Payne and Ezra won't be playing next week, the hip drop. I think we all agree that clubs and players don't train to do a hip drop, but as a coach, will you be training to actually help your players not get in that position?
Yeah, certainly, Billy. That'll be a big focus for us, because we've got a couple of guys in our group that manage to find themselves sometimes, you know, in that position. So I guess, you know, it's very difficult for the players, because both of those incidents, they were, well, the Ezra one was, if he doesn't make that tackle, there's a line break, possibly a try. And on the other occasion with Payne, well, Regan Campbell-Gillard was going to score if Payne didn't make the tackle that he made. So it's a difficult decision for the players to make. They're still coming to terms with the repercussions of this type of tackle. So, again, it's a learning curve for the players and all the coaches too. We've got to, it's a tough one. I'm sure you guys would agree. There's no real solution to this except for just being aware of it, and if you can avoid it at all costs.
Kevy, you spoke about the coaches. A mate of both of ours, Lee Breers, who played for Warrington, has joined the coaching staff. What's he brought to the club?
A different language, being English, certainly, but he's been really good. The idea of getting Lee into the coaching group was a fresh set of ears and eyes, somewhere from afar. Lee's been coaching in the English Super League, had a great career there in the English Super League as well. So he's brought a new dimension to our attack. He's very good with his attacking prowess. We're all getting the benefits, you know, of that. So he's been a great acquisition. Matt Ballon's looking after our defence, and Johnny Cartwright sort of look after the middle forwards in their attack and defence. And we've got Brett O'Farrell on our staff as well, working on the contact side of things. So we're well covered. And then Darius comes in as well. So we've got all of our aspects covered, you know, in the coaching department. And right at the moment, our players are getting the good benefits of that. But, you know, it's a long season. We're only early days yet, 8 weeks into what is a 27-week competition. So we're not getting ahead of ourselves, that's for sure.
And what about for yourself? You recently signed an extension, and speaking to some of your players after the game, they said that one of the things that's the reasons that they're playing so well is because they're just having so much fun playing and in and around the club. What's it like for you as coach?
Oh, look, I'm really enjoying coaching. I knew when I first got the job in the NRL it was going to be a bit of a tough ask, and NRL coaching is tough, but right now we're sort of getting the benefits of a lot of hard work from everyone, particularly the players. You know, I think whilst the situation is where it is at the moment, everyone's enjoying themselves. Winning is fun. Everyone knows that, and we keep winning, and everyone's going to have some more fun. But I'm a different style of sort of person. Everyone sees me as the jokester and the prankster, but I'm actually very serious about my football and my coaching, and I'm here to do a job to make sure that the Broncos win. And whatever that takes, we're prepared to do.
All right. Well, we loved having you on this morning, and we're looking forward to the Broncos taking on the Rabbitohs as well this coming week.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.